Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome back to another week of Astra Season offense matches. Things got a little degenerate this week, featuring the first time I've actually deployed Fallen Edelgard as a 4 mythic boosted carry. Even after several months of people adapting to deal with her, she's still an extremely powerful unit with her mostly base kit. Ideal gives her an extremely consistent boost to her attack and defense, while the combination of her weapon and armored wall let her power through enemies during the player phase, while also shrugging off anything that remains during the enemy phase. I opted for Gale Force over her native Bonfire, since it gives her a lot of extra options for breaking apart an enemy team, especially when she's paired with Yuri. In hindsight, I don't think Armored Stride and Mystic Boost do too much for her on this team. The mobility is pretty well covered thanks to Smite and Foul Play, and the extra healing isn't too useful when the team typically wipes out every relevant threat before they get a chance to attack. Something like Savage Blow and Attack Defense solo might work out better if I use this team again, giving Edelgard a much easier time cleaning things up after Yuri cracks things open. As much as Edelgard is the attention grabber of the team, Yuri is just as important a part of it. He's using the same build as last week, using Disarm Trap to let him approach enemy teams from any angle while giving himself as much attack as possible to secure knockouts. I might end up switching him to Moonbow outside of his bonus weeks, since missing that extra attack on top of some more if Reagan isn't on his team would really cut down Glimmer's effectiveness. Edelgard didn't get the week all to herself though. Things ended up being a bit of a speedrun competition between her and Dimitri, who's sporting a freshly maxed out build. Not having to choose between attack and speed boons lets him take full advantage of both his weapon's damage reduction and atrocity, and really helps him secure some of those closer speed checks. While Panic Smoke isn't as relevant in Astra weeks as at light ones, it's still very useful in case Dimitri runs into any teams trying to actually use visible buffs. A lot like last week, Dimitri and Yuri make an extremely powerful pair, but there was one match at the end of the week that had us using Furum instead. Yuri can run into problems with extremely high defense, far-save opponents, so I had a backup team with Dimitri that brought Isolation to the table instead. Even with tricks like Odd Recovery to work around, Isolation is still a very powerful tool to have available and can help a lot with forcing the AI into less than ideal situations. The Mythics, as usual, are here for support. Asher and Plumeria offer a useful pair of sabotages along with Dance's mobility, panic immunity, and visible buffs. Naga's Dragon Slaying buff is always useful too, and doubling down on Speed Defense Link with Reagan gives us multiple options for applying a full spectrum of buffs. Now that we've gone over the teams, let's get to the first match. This match is going to be a fun way to start off the week. They've got mostly an in-season legendary squad with a Chrom headlining their team, along with this bonus week Ryoma, and a legendary Byleth, and a legendary Lilina. They're rounding all of this out with a Duo Peony for their hindrance, and a Mirabilis for guidance, and Ceres as their 7th slot mythic. There's a Dense Trap here with Ryoma and Peony, and if Peony can find a target after dancing forward, she'll get rallied by Lilina, who gets danced by Mirabilis, and, well, things can get out of control from there. I'm not really planning to give them a chance to do any of that, though. And we should be able to clean this up really easily. I'm going to start just by having Reagan move here and opening things up for Plumeria.
Where to, friend?
And then I'm going to have Yuri step forward 1 space. It's real trap.
Close your eyes.
And then have Plumeria dance him. And he should be able to step forward and one-shot Ryoma.
Better accept it.
And once he's sniped one target, he can step back out of range.
I am the answer.
To keep us in our safe defense range.
Out of my way.
And then we'll just spend the rest of the turn opening up this front wall and waiting it out. And now that we've opened up their team a little bit, we should be able to clean things up from here. I'm going to just smite Edelgard forward. She's not going to do anything just yet.
Where to, friend?
Except watch as Yuri moves in and one-shots Crom.
Step aside.
Before cantoing back,
Why not?
getting danced. And even though we don't have Armored Stride active here, it doesn't matter too much since Yuri can foul play Edelgard forward
What?
and let her start rampaging through the rest of their team. Starting with Byleth,
Out of my
before
way.
moving on to Ceres. Feels like she has a bit of a grudge against these two.
Yes.
And then closing things out by taking down Lilina. And from there, things should be pretty straightforward. This peony should never escape her little corner, and Mirabilis should get herself knocked out next turn.
There is but one future.
So just flip Plumeria forward, and wait another turn to pick up the pots before we close things out. Mary steps in and gets herself one-shotted.
What is your
Then
desire?
we'll just smite Yuri past this forest,
Where to, friend?
and let him pick up this pot first.
I'll do it.
Dance him,
This'll be
let
fun.
him pick up the second pot, and have
What?
Edelgard close out the match. It was a fun one. I've been looking forward to seeing how these two work together, and it's good to see it work out. Let's see what we get next. This match should be another fun one to clear. They've got a bit of a corner setup that doesn't try for an engagement on turn 1, since neither of their dancers can reach Thracier. But they do have a team that's a little difficult to initiate on safely, thanks to Henriette with Farsave. And this Fallen Knight, who's actually a really fun pick for this week, thanks to the bonus week infantry schools. Baiting this Ike can end pretty badly when he's getting potentially up to +9 to every stat if you've upgraded your school, along with another 13 attack and speed from the solo skills. They've also got a second dancer with Nils, whose Frost Breath is always a bit annoying to deal with, since not many units like tanking -4 to stats. The Infantry Pulse doesn't do too much for this team, just bring Thracier down to a 2-charge Iceberg, and Ike down to a 3-charge Aether. And Ceres down to a 2-charge Iceberg too. They're rounding the team out with a duo Leaf, who's always a bit of a threat to handle, and a Mirabilis, who's got an attack tactic for Ike, which is very safe for him since if it gets panicked he gets to keep the buff anyway. And it also affects Leaf and Henriette for some extra threat from those two. I don't think I'm going to have any problems with this. If I've figured this out correctly, Edelgard is going to lose her speedy clear title from last match with a 2-turn clear from Dimitri here. I'm going to start by having Yuri move in
Where to,
and
friend?
pick up this first Aether pot. While he's not really going to get a chance to do any snipes with hit and run thanks to Henriette,
I won't disappoint.
he doesn't really want to attack into that. That still doesn't stop him from being able to get stuff done, thanks to being able to defuse traps
This'll be fun.
and navigate around the map very quickly with his Canto.
I am the answer.
And then we'll just move Dimitri over one space and say go. From here,
Where
Yuri
to,
can move
friend?
in and test this heavy trap, and also pick up the Aether pot. Or cantoing down to safety.
Yes.
Astra can flip Reagan forward.
Over here?
And pick off this Dark Shrine, which would be a bit of a problem for Dimitri.
What is your desire?
While we will be tanking -4 to stats, there's no reason to tank an extra -4 to each defense.
Your orders.
And then Dimitri can move in and just one-shot Ike. Start things off. And from here, we'll just end turn. And Dimitri should be able to finish off everything on their team in one round. Yep. Leaf starts first, since we don't actually get to heal from this, so he gets the most damage to stick.
On my honor.
Unfortunately, he's also the one who can do the most damage on their team. Thracer can do some too, but she doesn't have Fatal Smoke.
Don't let them retreat.
So most of that damage doesn't get a chance to stick. Ceres will move in next, since, like Thracer, she can get some damage to stick. But still not enough to bring Dimitri down.
It's our chance to prevail.
And from here we should just start healing all the way to full health. Mira moves in here since she heals him the least.
On my honor.
And then Mills should move next. Oh no, it's Henriette. I guess they both heal him full health, so he has less health to lose.
It's our chance to prevail.
Mills moves in and ends the match for us.
We will not lose.
And down he goes. That was a fun one. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be another interesting one. It might get a little bit degenerate depending on which one of these bolt traps is the real one. And although team is a bit boxed in here, so it's not as threatening as it could be, and Lysithia and Thracia are particularly exposed since you can attack them from here without actually opening the map up and letting anybody get out to attack you back. Even with that aside though, they do have some pretty interesting threats here. Eleonora can definitely catch people off guard with her ruse and potentially Deadeye if she gets to use it. And Veronica can always be a pain to handle if you're not careful. And they're rounding the team out with 3 mythics. I don't quite know what the Iotes on Mirabilis is supposed to do for her. She's not really going to survive archers even with it, so... And Corin being out of season really hurts her survivability overall, since the 3 mythics don't actually give her any benefits. I'm not really expecting to have problems with this. It should be a pretty straightforward match overall. I'm going to start by just opening things up a bit.
What?
Edelgard can swap up here.
I am the answer.
I'll just let Astra give her buffs for next turn.
Over here?
I'll flip Yuri forward and have Reagan move along out of the way.
I won't
Yuri's
disappoint.
going to start by sniping Lysithia. It's a fake gravity trap. We can work with that. And then he can canto back.
Why not?
We'll dance him.
Where
And he
to,
can test
friend?
this other trap and break the tactic room. Oh, so both of these are real traps. That's fine. Sadly, since this gravity trap wasn't real, it means we don't get to be degenerate enough to just smite Edelgard onto this bolt trap and heal back up from attacking.
Out of my
Instead,
way.
we're just going to move her forward one
Close
space
your eyes.
and dance her
What
before
is your
smiting her
desire?
forward onto the heavy trap.
This will be
Yuri
fun.
can pick off Thracer for us before cantoing out of the way.
Neo.
And then Reagan can pick up our first pot, and Kanto out of the way again.
Yes.
Edelgard then gets to go on a merry Gale Force spree, punching directly through that negating Fang, before moving on to one-shot Eleonora, and pick up the second Aether pot.
There is but one
And then
future.
we'll just say go. Veronica attacks here, but even though it does disable Edelgard's Armored Wall's damage reduction, we're not really too worried about this. It does mean Cirrus can actually get some damage to stick, but she's also not going to survive this combat. And, well, Mirabilis just tops Edelgard's health right back up. And from there, we can just have Edelgard march over, and take a couple of hits to knock out Veronica.
Yes.
It's a pretty straightforward match. Shouldn't quite match Dimitri's clear speed, though. Maybe next time. This match is a bit of an odd one. It's not too often that you see 6-unit setups these days in the vault, and it's even rarer when you see one that includes a Cerus on their team. This might have been a mistake. They might not have locked in their defense the way they were planning to, but well, hopefully they're already locked out of Lift Lost for the week, if that's the case. This team is actually pretty red-heavy, with Eliwood, Lilina, and Micaiah all as red threats. Mirabilis too, even if she's not really the biggest threat. And with only Thracier in play to really handle any blue tanks they might run into, it's probably pretty easy to tank their way through this with something like Brave Hector, or Dimitri, as depending on who's bringing their teams in. I don't expect to have problems with this team. It should be very straightforward once I get everybody in position. I'm going to take a turn just to clear out some of these structures and also
I won't lose.
start by sniping Cerus.
What is your desire?
I'll comply. I won't disappoint.
Which effective damage means Yuri doesn't have any problems with that. And it also lets us test one of the traps before the fight begins.
Better accept it.
And from there, Yuri can just move down, move
Close your
Familia
eyes.
over, and let the safety fence end their turn.
This will be
Here,
fun.
we're actually going to have Yuri snipe Mirabilis instead of Thracier.
Better accept it.
I'd rather not let Dimitri get debuffed this turn, since it would activate Thracier's killing intent, and even though that's not really too big of a deal for us, it's still better to avoid it. And we're only going to Kanto down one tile.
Yes.
We'll smite Dimitri over the mountain,
Yes.
have Astra flip the Mario over,
I'll
which
do
lets
it.
us dance Yuri,
Where to, friend?
who can then foul play Dimitri into place.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make sure Reagan continues soaking the Sprite Shrine by repositioning Astra. And then we'll just let Dimitri sit in place and tank everything except for Eliwood. Thracier goes first, but it's mostly just because she has the least amount of health to lose,
On my honor.
since she doesn't really get any damage to stick here. And, well, Micaiah can't do anything at all.
We will not lose.
And Luina has already gotten her special pulse smoked away, so she's not getting anything to stick either.
We will not lose.
And then Eliwood considerately leaves us just enough room to reach this Aether pot,
It will be
which
done.
we can do by smiting Yuri forward,
This will be fun.
which gives him just enough reach to pick it up before we canto back,
Why not?
dance him,
I won't disappoint.
pick up the second pot,
Your orders.
and let Dimitri close out the match. It's a pretty straightforward one. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be an interesting one just because I'm planning on a bit of an unorthodox Edelgard approach to this. Mostly because of this far save Edelgard they have on their team, who is not going to be something Yuri can really punch through very easily on his own. And, well, I do need to be careful about just throwing Edelgard into this, since this Erica would be able to do a lot of damage to her if we're not careful. They've also got a Pirate Veronica and Duo Leaf enabling their hindrance, and a +10 Lunge Eliwood backing them up. There's a lot of ways that they can break through a tank just trying to take advantage of this choke point on this team. And honestly, it's a scary combination of cavalry units. And then, of course, we have Cirrus and Mirabilis in the corner, just to act as their mythics. The reason I say this is going to be a bit of an orthodox approach is I'm actually planning to use an untransformed Fallen Edelgard to crack this open on the first turn,
Yeah.
and then also use the safety fence. We're going to start just by flipping her forward onto this bolt trap, even if it's real, and we're kind of lucky it's not. That means we get to keep all of her health. But even if it was real,
It will be done.
Edelgard shouldn't have actually had any problems moving in after getting smited,
Yes.
and attacking this Edelgard once, which helpfully fully charges her normal Gale Force,
What?
and lets her attack a second time to finish Edelgard off. From here,
This will
we're
be
going
fun.
to have Yuri move on to this real bolt trap and foul play Edelgard out of the way, and then canto back down to safety himself.
Close
Well,
your eyes.
almost safety. Leaf doesn't get affected by the heavy trap, and well, I wasn't really planning on the heavy trap
Over
in
here?
the first place, which is why we can have Reagan flip Yuri all the way out of their threat range,
There is but
and
one
let us take
future.
advantage of the safety fence on the next turn. From
I
here,
won't lose.
we're going to start by having Reagan flip Yuri over to the left, and then staying in place to give
Why not?
Plumeria an aerobatics target. And Yuri
Where to,
should be
friend?
able to sneak all the way forward and take down Leaf. He does take a counterattack, but that's okay.
Neo.
Since, well, getting Leaf out of the picture is a pretty important part of this. And then he can canto back down.
Yes.
Then we can have Edelgard swap Yuri backwards,
Oh, I'll do
have
it.
Plumeria jump forward and dance Edelgard, which helpfully debuffs Erica's defense,
What? Out of
and
my
have
way.
Edelgard move in to start taking a chunk out of Erica. Erica's follow-up cancellation effect only works when she's actually attacking, so it's actually completely safe for Edelgard to attack into her here.
Yes.
And, well, she can also take down Eliwood before he gets healed. before
What?
closing it out by finishing Erica off. And she shouldn't quite be able to one-shot this Veronica, who is now getting all of her solo skills active and will be fully healed at the start of the turn thanks to the healing tower.
I am the
So
answer.
we're just going to have Astra move forward and pick up this first pot, since they don't have any ranged units who can reach her anymore,
Yes.
and then just say go. Veronica moves in, and doesn't really accomplish much except disabling the 40% damage reduction, which isn't really going to matter much, even when Cirrus moves in to attack next. And, well, Mirror attacking last doesn't end well for her.
What is
And
your
from
desire?
here it's pretty simple to just let Naga smite Yuri forward,
This'll be fun.
pick up the second Aether pot,
Out of my way.
and have Edelgard close out the match. That was a fun one. Definitely not the way you'd usually use an Edelgard, but still works. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be another fun display of how little traps mean when you have a Yuri available to work with. They've got a pretty impressive Eliwood. So he's on a budget, but a plus 10 Eliwood is never something to take too lightly. And the Rally Lunge trap can really help him pull any enemy into range of a very nasty crossfire of this Phantom Speed Wind Sweep Merrick, who cancels out the side effects of Wind Sweep thanks to his weapons no follow-up, and not bonus, an in-season Crom, along with a Duo Peony who provides plenty of attack buffs for her team, and a Duo Sigurd, who I think is the one who's supposed to run forward and dance this Merrick as part of their trap. And they've got Sirius and Thracier as their mythics. These chills on Thracier and Sigurd can actually really catch people off guard, especially when you also have to worry about dodging a Bright Shrine and a Dark Shrine and this infantry school on the side. There are a lot of debuffs flying around here. And the chill attack is not something that Dimitri is ever going to be able to avoid, but it also shouldn't be too much of a problem for him to deal with. We're going to start just
Where
by
to, friend?
having Yuri run forward and snipe Merrick,
You've had your fun.
and also finding the first gravity trap while he does. Once he's done that, he can canto back down here,
Why not?
and Plumeria can jump over Astra and dance him, which
I
lets him
won't
run
disappoint.
forward and take down Peony as well, which also finds the second real trap. He can't canto back out of range here, but that's fine, since Regan can flip him backwards, and then canto out of range herself.
What is your desire?
Naga, meanwhile, is going to crack
I'll
open these
comply.
structures on the side with Dimitri's help, and then
Yes.
we'll just have Astra move over and get him buffed for next turn. The safety fence locks their team out, and then we get another turn to work with. From
I won't
here, we're
disappoint.
just going to take their rally trap off the table,
Kneel.
and we're not actually going to have Yuri Kanto all the way back, since I'd like him as close to the front as we can manage before this next turn.
Yes.
Then we're going to smite Dimitri forward over the lake,
Yes.
and let him break this Dark Shrine before it debuffs him again.
I am the
Asher is
answer.
going to move up here to get ready for next turn as well, and we'll
I'll
just
do
move
it.
Plumeria forward a space, and let Dimitri tank everything except for Crom. Yep. Cirrus moves in first. She can do some damage, but it is getting mitigated, so it doesn't end up letting too much stick.
Don't let them retreat.
especially when Dimitri can just one-shot her. Thracer moves next, but she doesn't actually get any damage to stick.
It's our chance to prevail.
And Sigurd is left isolated and honestly just heals Dimitri up to full health again.
It's our chance to prevail.
And without any allies left to change fate, Chrom can't really accomplish anything here. At this point, we really just want to make sure we pick these pots up before we close out the match. And thankfully, Yuri's mobility should give us a pretty easy way to do that. I'll start by flipping him forward with Reagan and then just letting her stay put,
I won't disappoint.
which lets Yuri move up here and pick up one pot before cantoing back.
Close your eyes.
Maria can dance him, letting him pick up the
This'll be
second
fun.
pot. And then we can just let Dimitri close out the match.
It's our chance to prevail.
And down he goes. That was a fun one. Let's see what we get next. This match is going to be a fun rematch at the end of the week. They beat me with a very close call with a maxed out Pirate Veronica and had this plus 10 Camilla as their lead unit for their defense. I was almost expecting a Fates themed team between the two of them, but they've got a very spooky double save Catria setup instead. Their Edelgard is over here and is actually out of range of Flora, which really does help explain why she's using distant counter here instead of being a purely melee focused build. And having distant counter does help her actually deal with some of the units that are built to handle save armors, as long as I'm not using Windsweep. Flora herself is an excellent for save armor, especially if she's got two distant defenses, since this preferred dagger is actually really useful at cutting into an enemy attacker's ability to kill her, as long as she meets this res check. They've also got a duo peony here to help support their front line with a significant amount of extra attack, and a distant guard on top, and Catria herself does a lot of that as well, with an attack defense rain and distant guard. And of course backing the entire team up with two mythics, Sarah's, who killed legendary Dimitri for that Impact Tempest, Wings of Mercy, who makes her very mobile and hardy bearing, lets her punch through Brave Ikes pretty well. Duma on the other hand has no mobility, but he does act as a second catapult to clear out the two most common bolt tower lanes. This match is going to be interesting, assuming I've figured this out correctly, since I think Yuri is just going to be able to run forward on this first turn and knock out Flora immediately.
You've had your fun.
He'll take a counterattack for this, but that's not too big of a problem for him, since knocking out Flora here is one of the most important parts of the match, especially since he also got to disarm both of the real traps while he did. From here, we're just going to let Plumeria dance him,
Where to, friend?
and move him up to knock out Camilla as well. He can barely get this knockout, since the guard effect from Crafty Fighter didn't let him get another glimmer this turn.
Over here?
And then Reagan is going to flip him back and out of the way, so that we can activate the safety fence this turn. Astra is going to move over and open up a path for Edelgard to get smited forward,
Out of my
and
way.
step forward one space to stay out of range of their Edelgard. And now things should get pretty silly for us.
What is your
I'm going to
desire?
start just by smiting Edelgard forward,
I won't lose.
then having Reagan flip Yuri forward. He can't actually just get to their front line on his own this turn thanks to this tactic room, and the damage he took last turn.
Where to,
But
friend?
once he moves up and snipes Peony,
accept it.
He gets his full range of Kanto back, and can duck back out of the way.
Yes.
Edelgard, meanwhile, is finally going to get in on this action and start punching through their Edelgard. While also undoing the damage from Demon's upheaval. And then closing things out by taking down Catrion. She's not actually going to get to finish the match this turn, since Ceres is going to lose her extra movement. Which means we'll just get to knock out Duma and have an extra turn to pick up the pots.
Close your eyes.
I'm going to have Yuri go ahead and
disappoint.
break this tactic rune, though, just to make sure we don't have to worry about it next
There
turn.
is but one future.
And Astra can jump forward. Duma attacks in. Can't really get anything done. Except get knocked out on the counterattack. And Ceres just can't reach us. And then from here, we're just going to pick up these last Aether pots
I'll do it.
There is but one future.
before letting Edelgard close out the match. It's always satisfying to get a clean rematch like this. This match is going to be a really fun rematch to close the week out with. They've got, like last team, a double safe ball, and this one's starring a maxed out Winter Felix. It's really rare that I see another one of these, and this one's impressively stacked for defense with an ARD skill and form. Also using Bolt Fighter Bonfire to help give him some offensive threat as well. And an Edelgard, who is using Distant Counter again. Here it seems a little odd, since she is getting covered by Felix, so she shouldn't really be taking any ranged hits, unless things go horribly wrong. And they also have a turn 1 trap set up with this triangle adept Sigurd dancing Felix, and then getting rallied by this maxed out legendary Lilina, who is not using her own special, opting instead for a Quickened Pulsed and Grand Scratchered. This maxed out Veronica too. But a Quickened Pulsed Grand Scratchered Blazing Flame to help her push out a lot more damage than people might expect. They've also got the first bonus weak Odor I've seen so far, and he's quite impressively bulky on defense. And the guard effects on their entire frontline team, including this Ninja Katana Double Deathblow Mirabilis, make it very hard to gale force through this, or even secure any healing if you're trying to tank it. It's a very spooky setup, and these chills, specifically for attack and defense, are also a little annoying for this team since Dimitri can't actually get them soaked. But I do think that we should be able to make this work with a bit of clever AI manipulation, and the help of the safety fence to disable the turn 1 and get us out of this odd recovery. I'm going to let Fjorm open this up while Plumeria moves up and breaks this healing tower. We're going to need this space for Dimitri next turn. Astra, meanwhile, is going to move back with Naga and Dimitri, while we have Reagan break this Panic Manor and move back over. Since we're out of their range, we don't have to worry about this turn 1 trap, and we can just set up for turn 2 instead. From here, by isolating this column, we make sure that Sigurd is never going to dance, while Mirabilis will always start the turn by dancing Felix, which conveniently buffs the rest of their team with 5 attack and stops Lilina from ever being able to rally.
What is your desire?
So, we're going to move Dimitri forward with Naga and have him open this up, and then we're going to flip Fjorm and try to use her to bait Odor into this tile for next turn. This should actually work out pretty well for us, since neither Lilina nor Felix can actually kill Dimitri in one round, and Dimitri would be able to kill them both if they attack him. So that should mean that Veronica ends up attacking him first. Let's see. Yep. And since Veronica always attacks him here, and does a little bit of damage, the bigger problem for them is that he also gets to atrocity Felix and Lilina, which
Do I look merry?
really limits how much damage they can actually do to him. Felix actually attacks first here since he can just do a lot more damage than Lilina can, which means we do get to take advantage of a noontime in between the Fatal Smoke combat and all the guards. Yep. And then Sigurd should finish this turn up by giving us a nice heal to get back into a healthier range.
It's our chance to prevail.
Then Odur should go chasing after Fjorm, and Edelgard helpfully swaps Veronica into a much easier place to deal with. That first turn went really well, and I think we should be able to have Dimitri move over and take down Odur this turn as well.
Yes.
Yep. While Brutal Shell is a bit of a pain to deal with, especially since we don't get to heal afterwards, Dimitri can tank it, thanks to his damage reduction, and then Atrocity lets him just punch through Odur's defenses.
Over
And
here?
from there, we can take advantage of Reagan to get Fjorm up into range to heal Dimitri a bit. Poor guy needs some healing after all of this.
I am the
And
answer.
then Guidance lets Ashura jump forward and flip Plumeria out of harm's way.
Yes.
And, well, with no rallies left, it's very easy for Dimitri to just bait Mirabilis, even if he is taking -9 stats from that infantry school. And then Veronica and Edelgard continue to do absolutely nothing. Now, honestly, all we really want to do is pick up these pots, even if they're unnecessary. It'd still be nice to do that before the end of the match. And we're going to have to wait another turn for that, since I would also like to make sure we take care of this Edelgard before she becomes too much of a problem.
I love you.
And since we can count on Veronica to never actually die, since she has a dazzling effect,
I'll comply.
we can make sure that we take our time with this before we close things out. A couple of
Why not?
repositions help Dimitri get a little bit of extra defense for this turn, and also debuff Edelgard's defense.
Your orders.
And then we can move him up here to intercept both of them, while Ashura pulls Plumeria back to safety,
It
and
will
we
be
move Naga
done.
over here to help for the next turn. Veronica can do some damage, but it's not really enough for Dimitri to be too worried. And while Edelgard will survive this turn,
It's our chance to prevail.
she's not going to finish Dimitri off,
My own path.
and she's also going to be too low to give us problems
Prevail.
later on.
There
And from
is
here
but
we should
one
just be able
future.
to have Ashura pick up one pot,
Your orders.
let Dimitri finish Edelgard off, seems a bit fitting,
Oh,
and
I'll
we'll
do
dance
it.
him,
What is your desire?
smite him onto the heavy trap just in case. Oh, and it was real.
Over here?
And then we'll just let Reagan flip Fjorm up,
Let's find
have her pick up the
happiness.
second Aether pot, and let
I'll
Dimitri
comply.
close out the week.
It's our chance to prevail.
That was a really fun match. It was actually the longest one of the week, too. This was another really fun week. Well, it was a bit degenerate at times. I do think it was a lot of fun just to get a chance to use Yuri to play around with different Fallen Edelgard strategies than I usually use, and also give a freshly ascended Dimitri plenty of chances to shine. I don't think Yuri's going to be quite as effective outside of his bonus weeks. The extra attack he'll be missing will definitely make an impact on how many things he can actually cut through. But I think he should still be a very valuable addition to my Astra season teams. I do have a Discord channel if you'd like to hang out and chat. There's a link in the description, and there's also a Patreon page there if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you've enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.